Okay, so good morning to all of you. Okay, so let us quickly just have a recap of the topics that we've done yesterday. Today is the lecture 3, and again the lecture is titled The Basics. Okay, so few things in 1 or 2 minutes we'll quickly recap. Pehle, lecture 1 se we even ask you what is environment, surrounding, what is ecology, the study of the interactions. Okay, then what is ecosystem, structural and functional part. And how would you classify an ecosystem? Classification. It can be natural and man-made also. In natural, it can be still divided into terrestrial and aquatic. And okay, usme what would be the classification in land-based systems? Agar desert hai, to again it has to be forest. It will have to be grassland ecosystems. And in aquatic ecosystems, what would we say? Rivers, oceans, ponds, lakes, etc. All of these we can say. Okay, of course, I'm saying of natural. What can there be in man-made? Aquarium we discussed. Any other thing apart from that? Hmm? So any other or socho? Salt pans, agriculture fields, etc. Paddy field, paddy cultivation. That was one of the examples. Okay. So that was what we had seen. Yesterday we had also seen about vultures. Okay. What was that specific drug with respect to vultures that we had seen? Diclofenac. ठीक है. और कुछ? हाँ, ठीक है. That also we had seen, right? Then apart from that, we had also seen, for example, what is autoecology, what is synecology? Auto is for single individuals, synecology is for more than one. Okay. Then we had also seen the ecological hierarchy. There were 6 things, starting with the individual population, community, ecosystem, biome, and biosphere. In biome, keyword to remember was climate. In biosphere, it was where life is possible, and it is the intersection of 3 things. Hmm. हाँ, ठीक है. So lithosphere, atmosphere, hydrosphere. ठीक है. What was the full form of NSAIDs? Non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug. मैंने अभी आपको एक एग्जांपल बताया है. Later on, I'll tell you. In fact, today is that Vulture Awareness Day, right? So today, in fact, chalo, I'll tell you 4. Okay, there is a fatal 4. Not only is it diclofenac, we also have aceclofenac, you also have nemosalide, और भी हैं हम बताएंगे, देखेंगे बाद में. ठीक है. Yesterday we had also seen a term that is known as ecotone. What was an ecotone? Transition zone from one ecosystem to the other, right? And it was a zone of tension. Why? High biodiversity is one thing you'll remember. Number of species ज़्यादा होंगे. ठीक है. Examples of ecotone भी सबसे पीछे है. One example. Estuaries. चलो आप बताओगे what are estuaries? चलो आप यहाँ पे what are estuaries? चलो you तुम try करो. हाँ, when the rivers meet sea, right? That is estuaries, right? Other example. Any other example of ecotone? Ecotone. Tortoise. ecotone की बात हो रही है. चलो आप. अच्छा आप try करो. Any other example of ecotone? अबे मैंग्रोव्स. ठीक है. मैंग्रोव से क्या याद आ रहा है? Which example had we seen? Sundarbans. Okay. Any other example that you remember? चलो ठीक है. अभी वो मैंने नहीं बताया. तो even if you don't answer that, you can be excused on that front. See, we've seen mangroves as an example. We've seen wetlands. Okay. We've seen grasslands. We've seen estuaries. We've seen river banks. So whatever we are seeing, try to recall and revise that, right? हर एक चीज add on होती रहेगी. ठीक है. अच्छा, how would you go back and see the class? You have a. अच्छा, you'll be able to do that. ठीक है. Fine. ठीक है. Then we had moved into the types of species also, right? What were the types of species we had seen? अब एक एक करके वेरी क्विकली, बिकॉज टाइप्स ऑफ स्पीशीज रिक्वायर्स योर लेट्स से फुल एफर्ट एंड रिवीजन. एक एक करके मैं पूछूंगा. यू नीड टू टेल मी वन द डेफिनेशन एंड सेकंड टू गिव मी एग्जांपल्स. ठीक है. फर्स्ट वाज फाउंडेशन, नहीं सॉरी, फर्स्ट वाज कीस्टोन स्पीशीज. इन वन लाइन कैन बी डिफाइन कीस्टोन स्पीशीज? बताओ सबसे पीछे. कीस्टोन स्पीशीज एग्जांपल चाहिए, बट डिफाइन कैसे करेंगे? व्हाट विल बी कीस्टोन? सोचो. नो नो, एवरीबॉडी इज राइट ऑनलाइन. आंसर बताना है कि व्हाट आर कीस्टोन स्पीशीज. यू कैन सी योर नोट्स एंड देन टेल मी. नहीं, यूनिक बोलोगे, दैट इज द इकोलॉजिकल नीश. Keystone species are the species which will have, if you remove them, they will have a disproportionate impact on the ecosystem. Okay, the main thing is disproportionate. Disproportionate means the moment you remove a lion or a tiger, ho sakta hai the entire ecosystem may collapse. We saw the example of Yellowstone National Park where the removal of wolves led to the entire ecosystem collapse. But when you brought the wolves back, what did it help in? Things got better. Yes or no? So there is a point to be made here that how this can be. One, तो एक example है. और example सोचो. So lion, tiger, wolves. We wrote Africa, this African elephant. But very important, in oceans we wrote the example of sea otter. Sea otter was eating who? Sea urchins. And sea urchins were eating kelps. तो अगर हमने sea otter को हटा दिया तो क्या हो जाएगा? Sea urchins will eat all the kelps. Same issue हो जाएगा. That was keystone species. Second example was endemic. Endemic देखा था हमने. ठीक है. Endemic में बताओ क्या पढ़ा था हमने? They are found in that area, and we've seen three examples global and some examples of Indian. Global में याद करो, giant panda is China, क्या कंगारू in, right? And lemurs, किसी ने फोटो देखी इनकी? कौन कैसा दिखता है? ट्राई करा? चलो देखना फिर से अगली बार. Okay. Then you have the examples of from India. Okay. So India वाले केस में what examples have we seen? So good. नीलगिरी तार. नीलगिरी तार से we have seen two spaces. What are the two spaces? Nilkurunji National Park, and Nilkurunji was famous for, yes, the blooming flowers, and these flowers are known as, हाँ सॉरी हाँ, तो इराविकुलम में, सॉरी द नेम वाज इराविकुलम. हाँ 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 राइट. हाँ, तो अपने नेशनल पार्क को वो कर दिया. हाँ, सो सी अगेन टू टू थिंग्स वर देयर हियर. नीलगिरी तार में आई टोल्ड यू टू नेशनल पार्क्स. वन वाज मुकुर्ती नेशनल पार्क, one was Eraviculam National Park. Eraviculam National Park is in Kerala, and that national park, Eraviculam National Park, I can link it to Nilkurunji. Nilkurunji is a flower that will bloom in how many years? Every 12 years. ठीक है? Okay. The tribe, were you able to see the tribe? अच्छा ठीक है. When, अच्छा. Okay, so we'll see that. Hmm. इसके beyond, so you have endemic species. I think in endemic, I also told you Hangul. I also told you the Sangai deer. Where is Hangul? ठीक है, Dachigam National Park. ठीक है, and where is Sangai deer? हम्म. ठीक है ठीक है ठीक है ठीक है. Okay, that you know. Foundation species, बस जल्दी से example बताओ. Apart from yourself, बताओ फाउंडेशन स्पीशीज कौन से हैं? हेल्प्स हो सकते हैं, कोरल्स हो सकते हैं, और एग्जांपल्स क्या हैं? ठीक है. नेक्स्ट नेक्स्ट टॉपिक, नेक्स्ट इज फ्लैगशिप स्पीशीज, राइट? फ्लैगशिप स्पीशीज अगेन सिंपल मैस्कॉट्स हो सकते हैं. दीज आर स्पीशीज व्हिच गेट अ लाइट लॉट ऑफ लाइमलाइट. ओके, दैट कैन बी वन. अम्ब्रेला स्पीशीज आर, राइट राइट ठीक है. तो जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल इट कैन बी इवन एलिफेंट, राइट, बेयर, टाइगर एटसेट्रा. देयर कंजर्वेशन, सो अगर नाम है अम्ब्रेला, लेट्स से इफ आई हैव टू सेव दिस वन स्पीशी, almost an umbrella of species, yeah, area has to be saved. So I'll be saving other species. Hence the name is umbrella species. So umbrella in that sense is a conservation related term. ठीक है. Now I think we have to see two more species that I had written, and उसके बाद भी also there are a couple of species. So one species that one will see is, Now, where you're writing pioneer species, अपनी margins में this topic is also linked to. We'll also see this again. Ecological succession. This topic is linked also to this, right? Ecological succession. ठीक है? अब यहाँ पे कुछ points देखेंगे. देखो नाम है pioneer. Okay? You have to think of pioneer species as a species who are the first to invade an area. Okay? So they are the first to invade and ultimately colonize an area. They are the first to do so. And when I'm saying they're the first to do so, for example, let's say there is a barren rock or barren area. Barren means यहाँ पे soil भी नहीं है. Okay? Because soil formation will also take some time. The first to invade this, you can have examples like lichens. Okay? And after lichens, अभी के लिए lichens लिख लो आप. अगर इसके साथ कुछ और लिखना है तो उसके बाद लिखना mosses. Now, here main thing to understand is, in the case of pioneer species, that there was nothing that was existing. So imagine life at the very, very, very start. Life जब start हुई है, nothing was existing, right? So there was a barren rock. Okay, barren rock है, and slowly and steadily things will become better, right? Better मतलब there will be some outgrowth that will start. There will be slowly, steadily grasses, herbs, shrubs, etc., etc. So slowly and steadily there will be some, and after many years you will see proper forests. So for नाम क्या है? Pioneer species are the species that are first to colonize an area. Hence, what is the name? Pioneer species. अब एक मैंने टर्म लिखा है lichens. ठीक है? Many people, when they read lichens for the first time, you'll get confused. भाई, what exactly is lichens? So let us first see how lichens look like. किसी ने सुना है lichens को? देखा है? You would have seen it, but चलो, ये कुछ समझ आ रहा है? देख रहे हैं? Can you see something like this? Let's say. चलो, let's say this is a lichen. Okay. What did I tell you? Lichens are the first to invade an area. Okay. तो lichens में जहां पे आपने lichens लिखा है, उस पर लिखो lichens में dash करके. These are symbiotic associations of, and every term I have to explain to you, I'll explain that. Likho, lichens are symbiotic association of algae and fungus. They are symbiotic associations of algae and fungus. Symbiotic associations of algae and fungus. ठीक है? हमने एक टर्म लिखा है यहाँ पे symbiotic lichens के केस में. That after the species, just after this, I'll tell you the species interactions also. We wrote symbiotic. Symbiotic में पहले लिखना plus plus. Okay, that means whenever species have association, let's say there is species number 1 and there is species number 2, plus plus means that this species is getting benefit from this species and the other species also benefiting the other. Okay, which means both of them are benefited. Okay, but in nature there will be many interactions. Sometimes only one species benefited, sometimes both species are harmed, sometimes one species is harmed. Yes or no? And for that also we'll make a table. अभी के लिए what did we see, और ऐसे बहुत टर्म्स आएंगे. अभी हमने एक क्या बात करी है? Symbiotic. After this I'll tell you what is amensalism, what is commensalism, what is predation, what is competition, etc., etc. सब में ये चीज चेंज होती रहेगी. कभी प्लस प्लस होगा, कभी प्लस माइनस होगा, कभी माइनस माइनस होगा. Sometimes it will be plus and zero, sometimes minus and zero. That will be just the next topic, which we'll start in maybe 5 or 10 minutes. Okay, but what do we know for lichens? And that is why lichens are very important. These are the first. अब आप सोचो, जब soil भी नहीं है तब lichens can come. Hence these are your pioneer species जिनकी वजह से सब start होता है. Okay, that they will help in starting of the entire ecosystem. So these are the first to invade. So again, when I do this topic with you, ecological succession, here I'll tell you primary and secondary succession. I will again tell you these concepts, right, through diagrams, that how this happens. Right now, you just need to know some basic terms related to species. One of the term is pioneer species, right? So this is also what we can talk about. So who are the pioneer species? एक बार अभी के लिए, first to invade, okay, any area, if there's a barren rock, there are lichens, okay, symbiotic. अभी जब मैं interactions बताऊंगा, then I'll tell you, जैसे what did we write? Symbiotic association of algae and fungus. Then we will see how is algae helping and how is fungus helping. मैंने बोला दोनों help कर रहे हैं. तो शायद आपको you are not very clear of how one is helping and how the other is helping. Any idea how is algae helping? बाकी लोग सोचो, कोई आइडिया? नहीं तो चलो ये दिस आई टेल यू. Basically, the work of algae is simply food. So photosynthesis will happen, they'll produce food. Then what is the role of fungus? अभी फोटो देखी हमने. So they will basically be providing the shelter, right? But we will be writing this for all the species interactions also. यहाँ plus plus है, plus minus है, etc. How this happens, and that is also something we will see through and understand. Okay. Till here, are we able to follow? So we have seen pioneer species. Yes, yesterday when I was ending, after that I also wrote something. कौन सा species है? अच्छा, invasive है, ठीक है. पहले invasive लिख लेते हैं, उसके बाद I'll also tell you one more. So pioneer you understand? अभी के लिए for your understanding only when you see the species and the adjective or the keyword associated. जैसे pioneer में I need to know first to invade an area. These are lichens. Okay. इसी से मिलते जुलते होते हैं mosses, but the difference is mosses are slightly differentiated. If I say algae or lichens, these are undifferentiated. Differentiated मतलब क्या होगा? यहाँ पे ऐसा लगेगा they have something like a leaf, something like a stem. And later on, you also have ferns, but ferns require soil. Ferns will have proper leaves, they will have proper roots, proper stems. So main चीज क्या है? Lichens, they will be undifferentiated. For example, यहाँ पे you will not be able to make out very specifically is there a stem? ऐसा कुछ नहीं है, right? But if you see mosses, it will still be better. And चलो नहीं तो आपको I'll show you between algae, mosses and ferns. चलो let's see this image slightly. मेन चीज है जिस याद रखेंगे डिफरेंशिएशन है. Just let's look at this, okay? You can say this is highly undifferentiated. This still has some structure to it, and this may the proper leaves, proper like structures are there, right? So algae, mosses, and ferns. Algae will be highly undifferentiated. Undifferentiated means कोई proper structure नहीं है. Okay? Mosses are still having some structure. So algae, when algae combines with fungus, क्या बन जाता है? Lichen बोलते हैं उसको. Algae plus fungus is lichen. Okay? Lichen and mosses, these are your pioneer species. Algae cannot survive on its own because algae also needs shelter. Okay, so this is one. So चलो, sometimes if you have a moist bread, ठीक है, अभी भी इस समय मानसून के समय humidity is very high. If you keep that moist bread outside, what would happen? Fungus होगा. Plus sometimes green colored fungus and all of that will also happen. So you can also have lichen also growing on. ठीक है, but of course खाना नहीं है इस चीज ब्रेड को. This is an experiment we will do, but with proper caution. We wanted to experiment and do this. So that is something that you will directly see. Okay. So one is example of algae, one is mosses. Ferns are more differentiated, but they would require soil. But these terms we'll also see later on. So abhi ke liye, this is there. Till here are we able to follow? Okay, pioneer species. Next, one more term that you often see is one we will see is invasive. This is seventh, right? This you will understand from the name. Indicator of sentinel species. This is invasive. अब invasive जहां पे लिखा है margins में we will update this a lot with our additions when I do species with you specifically. अभी के लिए I'm just defining you what are invasive species. Okay, from the name, देखो, you can write few names here. One is this. The name is invasive alien species. ठीक है, exotic species, or they can be non-native species. Okay. Now, main thing what happens? First of all, very simply think. Let's say we are in Delhi. Delhi में एक local grass है. Okay. Let's say this is a local grass in Delhi. Now, इसका अपना एक होगा predator. Yes or no? Predator means something, a natural prey who is going to eat this. Similarly, let's say there is an organism. If it is a local organism, if there will be a local predator, it will be a part of food chain. Okay, it will grow, it will get eaten up, again it will decompose, again it will grow, something like this will happen. Now, let's say somebody goes to South America. South America से मुझे कुछ नई exotic grass मिली. Okay, so which is why I'm using another color. Let's say this is a new grass from South America. Now, the problem will be this grass, or let's say this species, and when I'm saying invasive species, don't think it is only grass. Invasive species can be anything, कुछ भी. वो plant भी हो सकता है, animal भी हो सकता है. Animal में it can be even like an invasive turtle, invasive frog, okay, invasive ant, ANT, not AUNT, ठीक है? तो invasive species जब होंगे हमारे, तो there you will see, I am writing, it can be anything, please remember, anything, which means it can also be, of course, a plant. It can also be an animal. And when I say animal, of course, you also know frog, ant, and anything. These are only few examples I'm telling you, right? If it is from the outside, main क्या है issue? अगर वो बाहर से आया, the issue is it will not have the natural predators. If something does not have a natural predator, what would happen? Its population would increase or decrease. सोचो, आप बताओ, अगर किसी का predator नहीं है, for example, there is deer in a location. Who's going to eat deer? Lion. If there are no lions in that area, will the population of deer will increase? Yes or no? Same यहाँ पे होता है, that there you will not have natural predators of this in the region, and especially because of not having natural predators, what would happen? The population will increase. Okay, and this population, अब सब कुछ देखो, अगर population increase होगी, now there is a simple thing: is the resource limited or unlimited? Resource is limited. This is going to lead to competition. Okay, and because these species, outside key species, are rapidly multiplying, they are going to eat more resources. तो local species के लिए resource बचेगा ही नहीं. Something of the same issue we also see in internal security. Demographic जो changes and balances होते हैं. Yes, main issue is outside species आई, that species is very fast growing, that species is multiplying very fast because there are no natural predators. कह सकते हैं, ठीक है? Because of this there will be competition, and ultimately that there will be, the native species will have nothing remaining, and native species will start to get extinct. So the biggest issue with invasive species is that these species can lead to loss of biodiversity. ये issue है. Now, I'm not saying everything that you bring from outside will always be invasive. But if they become invasive, this will lead to loss of biodiversity. Are you able to understand how the loss of biodiversity is happening? Why is it happening? Two things. One, there is no natural predator. They grow fast. They eat up the resources. Native species के लिए बचता ही नहीं है. And because there is not enough resources remaining for the native species, the problem then is, they will get extinct, or they have to move away from that area. कहीं और भी जाएंगे, वहां पे उन्हें प्रॉब्लम आएगी. So are you able to understand what is the issue here? ठीक है? So first write down some of these names if you've written. ये लिख लिया आपने? तो अब पहला पॉइंट लिखो. The invasive species can be a microorganism, comma, plant, or an animal, a microorganism, a plant or an animal, plant or an animal which is not found in the local slash native area, which is not found in the local slash native area. Okay, एक और छोटी सी लाइन को, they come from outside, that is why bracket मेरे को these are non native, they come from outside, bracket में non native. ठीक है, I just want to ask you, how can they come to, let's say, India? कैसे आएंगे, सोचो. माइग्रेटरी और कुछ. ओके चलो. नाउ नहीं नहीं, मतलब इंटरकॉन्टिनेंटल. हाँ. Now, see, so here we'll write sources, how this is happening. Okay, so you understand they are going to be there. Now, many of the invasive species that are there in India are because of Britishers. So during 1800s, even during 1900s, there's a बहुत famous एक है Lantana camara. Okay, this was brought by the Britishers to India 200 years back. Okay, so one is, for example, some of the scientists who visit outside, they can bring some of the varieties. इनफैक्ट गार्डन्स में जो आपको बहुत एक्सोटिक वैरायटीज दिखती हैं, बहुत लोग क्या होता है, बहुत बार a lot of species are from outside. So Lantana camara, it is said, it is found almost in every second or third Indian garden. Okay, that is one way. Second way is you have a ship. Ship will have a ballast water. Okay, so from the ship's ballast water, they are also released into coast. मान लो एक ship आ रहा है from South America and the ship is getting parked near Kerala. Okay, or even Tamil Nadu coast. The moment the ship is parked, there is this ballast, B-A-L-L-A-S-T, ballast water. Through that ballast water, even they can be released. Yes or no? So my point is, invasive species can have different mechanisms, yes, sources of release. So just write down sources of invasive species, and then just we'll write the examples and the consequences of them. Sources में first point you can write ship's ballast water. The ballast water of the ship, पहला example हो गया. Second, illegal wildlife trade. Illegal wildlife trade. Third, we can also write research and expeditions. Research and expeditions. So for example, Indian scientists going outside, they bring some of this. Okay, and some of the time later it becomes uncontrolled. This can also be a problem, right? Research and expeditions. Okay, then you can also write, in some cases, in very rare cases, they can also be because of some migratory patterns. Okay, जिसमें की main चीज है long distance migration also included. There are very few species that will do long distance migration, but of course even through this they can also come, and for some reason, let's say they stay here, even their population can also get increased. Fine. तो कुछ basic sources देखे हमने. I can even give more, but अभी के लिए this is good enough. Then write consequences. Because of alien invasive species, what are the consequences? सबसे बस एक main चीज लिखनी है. In the consequences, so number one is basically, this is the only main point. You'll write this leads to, number one, decline and ultimately extinction of native species. Decline and ultimately extinction of native species. Okay, and next is overall loss of biodiversity in a region. overall loss of biodiversity in a region. Overall loss of biodiversity in a region. ठीक है? Overall loss of biodiversity in a region. ठीक है? Now, I'll also give you some examples just to so that you understand this. ठीक है? कुछ examples लिखेंगे. These are some of the very prominent examples. Okay, and we'll also be building on some other examples. तो हम क्या लिख रहे हैं? Examples. Prosopis juliflora. Exactly this was asked in the exam. Sometimes you ask us, should we remember the names of species, scientific names? For the invasive species, we can. I'm not asking you to remember because otherwise this will be a huge list. Okay. When you write it in the bracket, also write down this was a PYQ of 2018 prelims. Okay. So one is Prosopis juliflora. You have Lantana camara. Okay. Other you can also write Eucalyptus. Water hyacinth, also sometimes known as the terror of Bengal. Okay. अब इसके बारे में भी I'll tell you, and please remember the list is not exhaustive. We will add some other times. जैसे एक example red slider ant. This example I'm giving you so that you remember even ant can be a specific invasive species. Okay, this can also be one. Okay, चलो और भी लिख लेते हैं. This Prosopis chilensis. There is Conocarpus trees, for example. And for each of them, I'll give you at least something so that you can remember. This is Russian poplar. In different parts of India, we have seen examples because of them, right? So अभी Prosopis juliflora है, Lantana camara, Eucalyptus, water hyacinth. Let's say, for example, red slider ant, Prosopis chilensis है, Conocarpus trees, Russian poplar. Okay, these are the examples of your invasive species. Okay, and of course, this is only a small list. Again, when we update it, we'll also be saying some of the new invasive species. अभी क्या है? What is the issue with the invasive species? They will rapidly multiply. They don't have any natural predators. ये अपने notes पे लिखा है हमने. अगर नहीं लिखा है इसको जरूर ऐड करिएगा. They do not have any natural predators, which is why the population increases. क्योंकि बाहर से हैं. बहुत सिंपल सोचो. Yes or no? Humans में भी we are talking of other species, right? Human invasive हैं, of course, but not directly in the example sense. We lead to all the problems that are written here, right? We rapidly multiply. True है. ठीक है. हमारी population रोक नहीं सकते until unless सरकार रोके इस problem को. Yes or no? China, let's say, brings one child policy. Okay. But here we are talking of all the other. Okay. So that is one. Now, for each of them, just one line, yeah, some area or some points we'll write. Okay. Now, Prosopis juliflora जो है, ठीक है. When this question was asked, this was actually a problem in Tamil Nadu. So just write down TN. Okay. But it is not a problem limited to Tamil Nadu. It is a problem also in Gujarat. With Gujarat, remember Banni grasslands. Okay. It is said 1/3 of Banni grasslands is nothing but Prosopis juliflora. तो मैं यहाँ पे सिर्फ 1/3 लिख रहा हूँ. And I'm writing Banni. BANNI. Bunny grasslands. Okay, now why this was there? The Bunny grasslands, okay, in the area of Ran of Kutch, etc., has a lot of salt water ingress. A lot of salt water comes in. So, aerially through helicopters, what was done? Prosopis juliflora was sprinkled. Coincidentally, Prosopis juliflora grew. अब एक चीज है, you may get the impression that these are very bad species, है ना? They lead to a lot of harm, but please remember they serve dual purpose. There is a reason why they are being added. They can have a decorative value, but they can also have a useful value. For example, Prosopis juliflora or even eucalyptus, it can absorb large amounts of water, right? This is the good part. But जो चीज इतना water absorb कर रही है, उसको water चाहिए भी ज्यादा होगा, right? Second thing, problem क्या होगी when they rapidly multiply. So let's say in this area, if I have this much of Prosopis juliflora, चल जाएगा काम मेरा, ठीक है? But what if अब problem हो गई? Now removing it also requires money. Control and management of invasive species is very costly. In fact, removal of Lantana camara is a part of MG Narega in Karnataka. इसको हटाने के लिए भी MG Narega में people get money because it's a huge problem. So one thing is they were a problem in Tamil Nadu. They were also a problem in Gujarat, Bunny grasslands. Okay. Another point I can also say, even you see this as a problem in Delhi. Okay. अब दिल्ली में इसका नाम है विलायती कीकर. Okay, so that is how it is known. But even in Delhi, so my point is they can be spread in. This is the name. Talking of this, I can even add one more name. Let's say Parthenium, or ये भी नाम सुना होगा आपने, Congress grass. Right? Congress grass या Parthenium. This is one. Now, Lantana camara is very exotic species. I've told you, found in nearly half of the Indian gardens. And one more example I told you, in Karnataka, specifically if I say the Bandipur National Park, वहां पे Lantana camara is a cause for forest fires. Okay, that in Bandipur, this is in Karnataka National Park, it is a cause for forest fires. Okay. Other than that, I've also told you the removal of Lantana camara even in Madhya Pradesh and Karnataka can also be a part of MG Narega. Okay. तो ऐसे अभी नाम है, ऐसे slowly and steadily for somebody doing this for the first time, हो सकता है आपको बहुत overwhelming लग रहा हो कि 10 नए नाम एकदम से आ गए, ठीक है? But the point is, slowly and steadily you'll understand the issue with invasive species. Okay, where they are, what they cause. Of what they cause almost हर जगह same होगा. They will take up a lot of water, they'll take more resources, and they'll create more challenges. Yes. So Lantana camara again found in gardens. So and these are 200-year-old. They were brought during 1800s, 1900s. बहुत time हो गया इनको, ठीक है? Then we come to eucalyptus. Okay, with eucalyptus, two things are there. First, it is very fast growing. A lot of state governments, when they do plantation drives, they use eucalyptus. क्यों? Eucalyptus जल्दी grow करता है. Now, when I say it grows fast, I also need to give you some context and comparison. Okay, so in eucalyptus, for example, if let's say there is a normal tree, okay, shisham, or let's say any other tree which I'm talking about, a normal tree, versus, and please remember, eucalyptus extensively used in plantations. And eucalyptus, most of them are from Australia, like their origin. A normal tree can take around 50 to 100 years to grow. Okay? Eucalyptus can grow very fast in 6 to 10 years. अब आप बताओ सरकार किसको चुनेगी? Right? But here it is not as easy. I'll tell you the nuances also. See, eucalyptus, while it is very fast growing, good, Eucalyptus can also absorb heavy amounts of water. Absorb कर लेगा. Okay, so many times when there is huge water logging and some other issues, it can help in treatment of that area by, because it will take up and absorb all this heavy water, right? This is good, but the issue is, देखो, trees etc. याद रखना, these are, of course, these are natural, and this is ultimately what? Plantation. Many times people think कि sir, if you're cutting down the trees, क्या काम करेंगे हम? प्लांटेशन कर देंगे, बात बराबर ही तो है. Is that the same? If you cut down a natural tree, it is not the same as doing a plantation. Okay, and specifically if you go for, let's say, eucalyptus or any of the fast growing varieties, the reason is, तो ये चीज याद रखना कि natural is never equal to plantation. This also is mentioned in many reports. Even IPCC reports says that जो natural forest हैं, as much as possible you should save the natural forest, because if these natural forests are cut, and even if you cut, let's say, 1 hectare of area, and you exactly plant 1 hectare of trees in another area or in the same area, that is still not equal. Uski reason kya hai? The reason is, in the natural areas, there are very well defined food chains, food webs. It is not just a tree, it will have the supporting microorganisms, the algae, the fungus, the rodents, the birds, everything will be properly established. Now, if you're bringing something from the outside, number one, सबसे बड़ा issue है यहां पे, this leads to a monoculture. Monoculture means आप एक तरह से यूकेलिप्टस लगा रहे हो. In nature, things are highly diversity oriented, right? So for long term benefits, you want more and more diversity. यहां पे क्या? Monoculture. The biggest problem with monoculture is, if any one of them has any other pest issue, any issue, this will get damaged. पूरा का पूरा monoculture खराब हो जाएगा आपका. So while you may be tempted कि नहीं, it has a very short growing time, it will look good, आप जल्दी, let's say when you plant them, in a short span of time you can see the result. But please ensure, this is again a let's say very conceptual part also, the plantations are never equal to a natural forest. So as much as possible we should save a natural forests. Okay? But you also know, because of these two reasons, generally some of the state governments want to use them. So many times if you see, let's say, the UP government or other governments, they may actually use eucalyptus purely for their plantation drives. But now, slowly and steadily, this is taking now a back seat. The governments are also realizing this may not be the best step. Okay? Problem इसलिए होती है, एक तो problem is this is the good part. But the problem is, the moment they grow more and more, they take now a lot of water. और इंडिया में अभी अभी आप जान रहे हो, सबसे बड़ा इशू क्या है? We become water exporters. We use cash crops, we use plantation crops that take too much of water. तो बाकी क्रॉप्स को दिक्कत होगी, फार्मर्स को दिक्कत होगी. यू हैव लिमिटेड इरिगेशन, यू आर डिपेंडेंट ओनली ऑन द मॉनसून, एंड भरोसा नहीं मॉनसून का. समटाइम्स यू विल हैव टू मच ऑफ रेन, otherwise you have too less of rain. Yes or no? This time there is a bumper rainfall, but what is the problem? Most of the areas have gotten flooded. So many articles, how many, let's say, in different areas, ठीक है, so much of, let's say, crop and produce has got waste. Okay, are we able to understand this? So when I say eucalyptus, with eucalyptus, of course, it absorbs a lot of water, which can help, but which can also be a problem. Second, it grows very fast. Take third thing, a natural forest and a plantation are not equal. ये जरूर याद रखना आप. Okay, this is a point, or at least in the margins, please write down, a natural forest is not equal to a plantation. Now, you have water hyacinth. Similar problem. It is known as the terror of Bengal. The reason is, the moment water hyacinth comes to a lake, पूरा का पूरा lake becomes full of water hyacinth. Okay. Now, it is a problem in Bengal. It is also a problem in Kerala. So in different parts, it is going to be found. I'll just show this to you. जैसे ये देखो, water hyacinth invasions in, it starts, देखो, water hyacinth invasions in wetlands. Okay, ये दिख रहा है पूरा का पूरा. This is what is invasion. The entire wetland, for example, swamped with the overgrowth of water hyacinth. So other species cannot grow. It will take up most resources. This is why this is known as the terror of Bengal, right? Of course, it is found in other areas also. यहाँ पे देखते हैं which area are they talking about. It can also be in Kerala, etc. अच्छा ये चलो ईस्ट कोलकाता वेटलैंड्स की बात हो रही है. चलो एक और लिखो यहाँ पे इसके साथ. You can also write this. I told you Kerala. Kerala has this Vembanad Lake. Kerala has actually 3 Ramsar sites. Okay, उसका कीवर्ड है VAS. वेम्बनाड, अष्टामुडी, षष्टमकोटा. ठीक है, तो कहीं पे मार्जिन्स पे these are also impacted. VAS you can also write. Kerala has 3 Ramsar sites. VAS. Vembanad is one. VEMBANAD, Vembanad Lake. You have Ashtamudi Lake also. These are some additional trivia. Slowly and steadily with each class, you will be building on this. तो अच्छे से तैयार हो जाएगा आपका. Vembanad Lake. One is Ashtamudi Lake. And third is Shashtam Kota Lake. VAS. Shashtam Kota. These are the only 3 Ramsar sites from Kerala. तो यहाँ पे भी दिख सकता है, देखते हैं एक सेकंड. Okay, so what was the other? Let's say if it is loading till then, water hyacinth we had seen. Next was अच्छा रेड स्लाइडर आंट पे. चलो बस दिस वाज ओनली टू गिव यू. और नहीं तो रुक जाओ, यहाँ पे आपको दिख रहा है. दिस विल बी वेरी स्मॉल आई थिंक. वेम्बनाड, षष्टम कोटा, अष्टमुडी. Okay, 3 were there. So वेम्बनाड you can see, अष्टमुडी, and you also have षष्टम कोटा. तो अच्छा यहाँ पे होना चाहिए बेटर. Kerala 3. वेम्बनाड, अष्टमुडी एंड षष्टम कोटा, केरला. ठीक है. Coming back, so red slider ant में just remember this is for you to know that even ant can also be an example, one of the worst invasive species of the world. Okay. Then there is Prosopis chilensis. What is this? Chile. What is Chile? In Asia या चलो ठीक है फिर ठीक है. South America. What is Chile famous for? देखो यहाँ पे जहाँ चिले लिखा है, again in the margins please write down ABC. ABC is known as a lithium triangle. Okay. अर्जेंटीना, बोलिविया, चिले. ऐसे तो और भी चीजें हैं चिले में फेमस. आई एम सेइंग ABC. अर्जेंटीना, बोलिविया, चिले. ABC is known as the lithium triangle. आगे as and when your classes go on in geography you'll read more about Chile. Okay, but ये नए नाम से क्लियर हो रहा है Prosopis chilensis के केस में. Okay. Right, and put a dash here. Right, Gulf of Mannar. Gulf of Mannar. अब एक चीज है, whenever now from now I will say Gulf of Mannar. I'm just telling you right now, but this species you will see so many times. There is a species known as dugong. These are dugongs. Okay, dugongs are known as sea cows, and dugongs are herbivores. Okay, and you will find one of the maximum dugongs in Gulf of Mannar. ठीक है, they love sea grass. ये दिख रहा है अपने को? I think there are too many ads here. चलो ये दिख रहा है, चलो होपफुल. Dugong, D-U-G-O-N-G, right? So here what you need to know, dugong, अभी बस ये याद रखो, these are sea cows who eat sea grass, mostly found in Gulf of Mannar. नहीं 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 नहीं, Prosopis chilensis देखो, देखो, you have Gulf of Mannar. Gulf of Mannar is the location. Fine, number one. Gulf of Mannar is famous for dugong. Dugong are sea cows. They are herbivores because they eat sea grass. Second thing, this area of Gulf of Mannar has seen the infestation of invasive species, that is Prosopis chilensis. Location wise, I'm telling you. Okay, now how would you also remember this? This is easy to remember, this area. So India's first, this is also how we link your current, India's first Dugong Conservation Reserve is also here. No, no, Abhi Gulf of Mannar is fine because of course there is also this. So even this is fine. देखो, India's first Dugong Conservation CR is Conservation Reserve. ये लिखना है हमें. This is in Gulf of Mannar. In bracket you can also write down, there is very close to this is Park Bay. So just with one information, three things we are connecting. This will help you better recall. हर एक पॉइंट का रेफरेंस है. अगर मैं इंडिपेंडेंटली आपको ये बताऊंगा, आपको याद ही नहीं होगा. बट जब भी मैं ये बताऊंगा, मैं ये भी बताऊंगा. I'll tell you this and I'll also tell you this. So that is how we cluster information. Right? As we move along, I'll also tell you what is a conservation reserve. Does it have a legal backing or not, etc. All these terms we'll go into. But for now, what have you seen? You have seen what? Let's say dugong. Dugong is a sea cow, feeds on seagrass. Second thing we've seen is Prosopis chilensis being a problem in this area. Till here it is fine. That's it. Now, you have Conocarpus trees. This was also in the news. Just two things remember, these are mangroves, and very recently the Gujarat government talked about, or actually has banned them, that they will not be now used in plantations. So what are these Conocarpus trees? These are mangroves and has been banned by the Gujarat government. Same thing if I go back and see in the news. Conocarpus tree, etc. जो again we'll see some more. जैसे ये देखो, Gujarat bans exotic Conocarpus trees amongst health concerns. ठीक है? तो Conocarpus trees है Gujarat Forest Department. Now you will remember it. और इसमें issue क्या है? Both in this also, their pollens when they become airborne, It leads to respiratory problems. Second thing, they also take a lot of water. Okay, two issues are there. तो नाम याद रखेंगे कोनोकार्पस ट्रीज. ठीक है. I've already told you this particular site. If you want, you can just read this article for some detail. But please remember, this is going to be very detailed article. हमें इतनी detail करनी नहीं है. These are how. So in the linings of the road, they used to be planted. Okay, these are the conocarpus trees. I'm giving you both contemporary examples also, some static examples also, so that you will remember some of these points. Conocarpus trees क्या है? Mangroves. Gujarat government banned. Okay. Next is Russian poplar. Same issue, but this happened in Jammu and Kashmir. The issue is their pollen became airborne, okay, which will lead to respiratory issues. So the court had to intervene and ultimately they had to be cut down. Issue है respiratory issues. ठीक है. तो हर एक पॉइंट के साथ if there is some reference if I have, okay, or story or some news article, वो points याद रहेंगे हमें, right? And last one is Congress grass. Name is Parthenium. From the name also, you can also understand that this is related to what? That, for example, I'll also show this to you. This you see very much. बहुत बार एक a kind of a weed species, etc., that you get to see. इस तरह से almost across India. Okay. And this was actually related to way back in the food controversy. ठीक है, PL 480 scheme सुना है हमने? That during the 1960s, India had a food shortage. So it brought some food from, or asked the food to be brought from USA. ऐसा बोला जाता है USA also had sent this grass, and sometimes this is also known as, the name is Parthenium. This is also known as the Congress grass. Okay. अच्छा, Amazon पे भी दिख रहे हैं. Okay. Congress grass US gifted ये वो, and this is taking up so much of species. ठीक है, तो this is just, you just remember Parthenium weed also. The name is Congress grass. Okay. और इससे बस लिंक कर सकते हो. ये मेन कॉन्टेक्स्ट क्या है? इंडिया वाज स्ट्रगलिंग विद द फूड शॉर्टेज. यूएस से हमने असिस्टेंस मांगा था, और ब्रैकेट में लिखना PL 480 स्कीम. अगेन इन इकोनॉमिक्स यू विल रीड अबाउट इट. So sometimes it is said, और नाम क्या लिखा है? फ्रैंकन स्पीसीज. फ्रैंकनस्टीन वाज अ मॉन्स्टर. तो यहाँ पे इसलिए दिस आर्टिकल सेज दिस. यू डोंट हैव टू राइट फ्रैंकन स्पीसीज एटसेट्रा. बस नाम जगह याद रखो, कांग्रेस ग्रास. द अदर नेम इज पार्थिनियम. And it is said that how, because of the US aid, you got it to India. अब क्या है, इतनी ज्यादा फैल गई, it has spread so much, it is creating new issues. It is a major concern, and across all the invasive species we know why it is a major concern. बताओ क्यों concern है? It will lead to loss of biodiversity. ठीक है. People online, are you been able to follow till here? ठीक है. Now, just one species I'll give you in homework. You'll read about it, and you will see why is it in news, not recently, but since 2-3 years. That name is, let me write in the next one. Senna spectabilis. Senna spectabilis. Just see where this is, why is it in news, and for what reasons. Senna spectabilis. Okay. Now, so we've done some of the invasive species, right? Last, please write the heading: indicator slash sentinel species. Now, name is indicator. Any idea from the name that you get? So it will indicate the health of an ecosystem. Okay, if an ecosystem, for example, is facing ecological crisis, if there is an increase in pollution, etc., you get to know about it. Fine. The main thing, just write down the definition. These species help. These species help say better. These species are indicator of the health of an ecosystem. These species are indicator of health of an ecosystem. Okay. Example say this will become very clear. देखो example, first लिखो water. In water, one of the best examples of water is even the river dolphins. The health of water you get to understand from the river dolphins. Now I'll give you a practical example here. Let's talk about river Ganga. Okay. Now, whenever there is more pollution in river Ganga, will the population of dolphins will increase or decrease? Decrease होगी, ठीक है? And this is also seen. So even the Minister of Jal Shakti spoke about the same point that now because the river Ganga is getting cleaner, the number of dolphins are also increasing. So that tells you how is this is related to. One example can be this. Second example of water or ocean ecosystems health can also be coral reefs. Coral, CORAL, coral reefs. So if there are increase of coral reefs, I can also get to know that overall the ecosystem is doing well. But the decrease will tell me that, and you know things like coral bleaching. We know terms like ocean acidification, global warming, climate change. This has led to decline of coral reefs also. That means ocean's health is not doing very well. So water, yeah, in this case, this one is one example. Second example you can write in land. ठीक है? अब इसमें one proper, जैसे if I want to know about, okay, तो यहाँ पे you can write one example. So let me first talk about, so first write lichens. Yeah, बिल्कुल. अभी इसका next example is butterfly only. So one is lichens. Now lichens, please write, are an indicator of air pollution. They are the indicators of air pollution, and more specifically bracket में लिखो SO2, sulfur dioxide. Okay, which means if there is more SO2, lichens will decrease. Right? Now, which country is the biggest emitter of SO2? Any idea? The answer is India, leading emitter of SO2. But that is not the case with carbon. Carbon dioxide, the leading emitter is China, followed by USA, followed by India. Okay, so whenever we see, and this we'll do in more detail in pollution. And I bola sulfur dioxide, a lot of old thermal power plants, they emit a lot of SO2, sulfur dioxide. So even that is something that we have to be aware. What is SO2, sulfur dioxide, etc. आगे देखेंगे in the topics of pollution in more detail. Right now we have just seen indicator species who will indicate to me the extent of pollution. Can we say this? Yes? Okay. So I think these are some of the examples that one could have known and written. अच्छा, इसी का दूसरा नाम है sentinel species. Sentinel species, the main idea of sentinel species is, sentinel is a kind of a protector. Okay. So these species are going to help and understand what is the overall health of an ecosystem. That is all you need to know in this case. Okay. और example लिख लो. You can write butterflies. Overall, land या air overall. Lichens, we have written air pollution, SO2. We are also writing butterflies. Okay. Water, mein you can write one more example within water. Right? Oysters. 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 And bracket mein likho, oysters are filter feeders. Oysters are filter feeders which help in cleaning water. Oysters are filter feeders and they of course help in understanding the extent of pollution also. Just like a simple Google we are doing, you can also do that later on. जो भी species you're not able to understand anything, you should have a habit. Not just see this. Oysters की अगर बात करी जाए, just see, okay? They can filter up to 50 gallons per day, and they, let's say 1 acre of oyster reef, 36 Olympic pools. ये fact हमें नहीं कोई पूछने वाला, okay? But this is just to tell you that they eat up and a lot of water goes through them. They remove the algae and nutrients, so they make the water clean and clear. Right? So all the water goes through them. जितना भी excess nutrients and the algae, they are able to absorb it. So इसीलिए ये बनता है oysters is equal to clean water. Okay? This is something that you will remember. So they also help in overall as an indicator species. Indicator species are also your sentinel species. Okay? Last me just one line you can write. Their their death their death signifies that the environment is not doing well. Their death signifies that the environment is not doing well. Okay? Okay. Now, so we've seen how many types of species? 8 types of species, right? Some basic idea now you will have about species. And with each subsequent lecture, we will be building on this. Okay? Now, just want to know people online. Have you been able to follow? Is there any example which is bugging you, bothering you? अभी तक समझ में आ रहा है? We have seen types of species. Yes. Now please write the next heading. Species interactions. Species interactions. Species interactions. Now, in species interactions, we'll see एक table बनाएंगे, एक chart बनाएंगे, and just I told you that they were examples, okay? Amensalism, commensalism, etc. अच्छा, before I do so, there are 2 questions I want you to answer. These are from the previous questions. एक बार देखो इनको. Basic definitions हैं. Okay? I'll give you 30 seconds. Okay, people online. See the question. Let's say for you, this is question number 1. If you answer it right, 1 and then the answer to this. And there also one more question. Very basic, very conceptual UPSC PYQs. You have 30 seconds to see this. Simple 30 seconds takes. Read all the options. More important than the answer for us is how are we thinking on these questions? And directly don't give the answer when I ask. You have to just raise your hand. People online, of course, can mention this in the comment. बताओ, पढ़ लिया आपने? आर वी इन अ पोजिशन टू आंसर दिस? लेट मी सी इफ पीपल ऑनलाइन कैन सी. अच्छा, कौन आंसर करना चाहेगा? जस्ट रेज योर हैंड. और कोई? आप करना चाहोगे? बताओ कौन सा? सी. अबे आप व्हाई नॉट ए सबसे पीछे? व्हाट इज योर आंसर? ए क्योंकि मैंने बोला. अच्छा. अच्छा, okay. Now please see, the question is ecosystem. We have seen one definition. What is the definition we have seen? Structural and functional part. ठीक है. Now they've twisted. Now let's see this. A community of organisms interacting with one another. Okay. Looks fairly okay, not too bad. That part of the earth which is inhabited by living organisms. It means, let's see, this is earth. They're talking of that part of the earth where life is possible. What is this? Which part of the earth? या फिर जब earth में where life is possible, what is that known as? Biosphere. So this does not give me the right example. इसको मैंने हटा दिया. फिर क्या है? A community of organisms. ये तो मुझे similar लग रहा है. A community of organisms together with the environment in which they live in. Now between A and C, you tell me which is more comprehensive in nature. पहला क्या बोल रहा है? A community of organisms interacting with one another. Second says community of organisms together with the main catch is this environment they live in. When I say environment, does it also include abiotic factors also? Okay. Here you are only talking of biotic factors only. Yes or no? So biotic plus abiotic, ये एक अलग तरीके से पूछ लिया आपसे. So the answer should be C. But still let's go with D. Flora and fauna. अच्छा, what is flora? बताओ, flora क्या होता है? Flora is plants. What is fauna? Animals. Basic terms say, in case you don't know, now you know. Now, flora and fauna, which means plants and animals of a geographical area. Why is this not the answer? ये बताओ. बिल्कुल, yes. याद करो हमने बायोटिक में वी हैव रिटन फ्लोरा एंड फौना. बट व्हाट अबाउट एबायोटिक? वो तो नहीं है इसमें. ठीक, अब समझ में आ रहा है. दिस विल बी अवर अप्रोच व्हेन वी सॉल्व द पीवाईक्यूज आल्सो. फाइन. सो दिस इज वन. एक और क्वेश्चन देखो, सिंपल है. और इसमें नॉट ओनली डू आई नीड टू नो द राइट आंसर, मुझे सब पता चाहिए कि क्यों गलत है बाकी तीन ऑप्शंस. जस्ट रीड दिस 30 सेकेंड्स. अगेन पीपल ऑनलाइन. See this, read it carefully, and then you have to answer. How many of you can answer this? बस raise your hand. इसको आंसर करना टू करके, टू एंड योर आंसर. पीपल ऑनलाइन, सो दैट कंफ्यूजन नहीं हो. दिस इज द क्वेश्चन नंबर 2. Okay, so let's see which of the following term describes. No, I'll ask this question. चलो आप ट्राई करोगे? बताओ क्या? So you're saying niche. Anybody else? Habitat, ठीक है. Anybody else at the back? C, ठीक है. B और C हो गए. So that I feel happy, I just want two more answers, A and D. सारे होने चाहिए ऑप्शंस रिप्रेजेंटेड. चलो So we are seeing answers of B also, we are seeing answers of C also. ठीक है. Okay, this is expected in this question. B और C में कोई चलो let's see somebody के नहीं सर B से छोड़िए A होना चाहिए. Anybody? A नहीं है. चलो. Which of the following describes not only the physical space occupied by the organism but also its functional role in the community of organisms? अब बताओ क्या आंसर होगा? जिसने हैबिटेट बोला, why habitat? Okay, but in this question, see, if the question was purely about the physical space, okay, then the answer should have been habitat. Okay, but here the moment they ask you the unique functional role of the organism, then the answer becomes ecological niche. But please remember there are two more things. इसमें भी sometimes you may, देखो इसमें एक चीज समझो, not only the physical space, here sometimes you may get a confusion कि sir, in some species where they have the physical space where they live versus the functions they perform can also be different. This can also be true. But in some cases, in a huge area, the niche can be a part of it also. This can also create a confusion in this question, right? So here, based on this, in the conventional sense, क्या होता है आप ये सोचो, सोने के लिए मेरे पास अलग से रूम है. In the space I have a room, but for studies and work I have a different space I go to. That is also generally seen because if the tiger is living in this area only, ऐसा नहीं होगा deer भी यहीं पे आके सोएगा, because the deer ultimately will get killed only. Yes, which is why the lion will leave its habitat, will go out in the morning, will hunt the deers. तो जहां पे the main physical functional role है, that is different. Yes, so the most appropriate answer in this question has to be ecological niche. Now you're also left with two more options. What is an ecotone? Zone of transition between two ecosystems. This also is one. And the last one is home range. अब ये नया टर्म आया आपके पास. What is a home range? और कोई? Anybody else? What is a home range? जैसे for example, when we'll do tiger, when also we'll do other species, right? We will see tiger range countries, for example. Okay, so home range is that huge big area overall around which you will find a species, right? So this, geographically speaking, is the largest area. Right? And here, for example, you can write down, for example, there are 13 tiger range countries of the world. Of course, one of them is India. Which country has the largest amount of tigers in the world? Tigers की बात कर रहा हूं मैं. Which country has the world's largest number of tigers? Let's say, चलो उल्टा पूछता हूं. Which country has 75 to 80% of world's tigers? बताओ. Which country produced the movie एक था tiger? बताओ. India. The answer to that is India. Okay. 75 to 80% of the tigers of the world are in India. Maximum tigers are in India. Second largest is Russia. But अगर आप एक था टाइगर से याद रखोगे तो आपको याद आ जाएगा. 75 to 80% of tigers of the world are in India. ठीक है. When I'll do tigers with you, then also we'll see this again. ठीक है. Till here are we able to follow? ठीक है. Now, the heading for you is now species interactions. Okay. Okay, so there's some issue. I'll just open it again. Achha, now it is fine. Okay, now let's see this. यहाँ पे the heading is population, or you can also say species interactions. ठीक है. हाँ. Now, this is a table which you will understand very shortly. Okay, let's first see the terms. You have mutualism, you have competition, predation, parasitism, commensalism, amensalism. अभी टर्म्स बड़े मुश्किल लग रहे होंगे, ठीक है? But in the next 30 minutes or so, these terms will become very easy for you to understand. Okay? Now, one by one, I told you there will be two species that we are going to interact with. Fine? Species A, species B. Plus means here, what is the meaning of plus? नहीं, प्लस सिर्फ प्लस का मतलब है बेनिफिट है. अगर दोनों में प्लस लिखा है, which means both of them are getting benefited. Fine? Minus means harm. And what does zero mean? Neutral. No effect. Okay? Neutral. So first is this code. Okay, and directly if you see here, the snapshot is from the NCERT, all the examples from the NCERT and even beyond. Now we are going to cover in this. Okay, so first please make this table and then one by one, with each heading, we will understand the examples. In this heading, please make sure that you write plus and after 30 minutes, ये table आपको exactly याद हो जाएगी. Because for each point, we will be doing examples. Yes or no? So that will help you understand. So minus, and when it is minus minus, in this interaction, both the species are harmed. Right? So that is how we understand. Yes. So both points are to be known and understood here. Right? So you have species A, you have species B. The name of interaction, one is mutualism, competition, predation, parasitism, commensalism, and amensalism. So people online, you can also draw this. After that, directly for each term, the respective examples, we'll see one by one. Mutualism, competition, predation, parasitism, commensalism, and amensalism. Okay? Now, first, I'll give you an overview for all of them. Then, with images, infographics, we'll see all of them. That will make it very easy. देखो, mutualism में क्या देखा हमने? Plus, plus. Any one example that you can tell me that we have done in the class? Lichens हो गया. Any other interaction in the world that we see where both are getting benefited? अभी के लिए देखो, a lot of terms which I'm going to tell you, you have not done them yet. ठीक है? So people who are watching this or you, even if you're attending, I am going to tell you. ऐसा नहीं है कि ये सारी चीजें आपने पढ़ रखी होंगी पहले. ठीक है? तो म्यूचुअलिज्म में we'll see examples. अभी जैसे वन ने बताया lichens. Okay? One of the very, let's say, prominent example of mutualism that is seen is, don't write anything here. I will make you write down everything. जितने भी infographics हैं, कुछ points हैं, अभी बस हम देख रहे हैं क्या हो रहा है. ठीक है? Lichens, coral reefs. Fine. One very, very good other example of this is also mycorrhiza. जहां भी आपको this term दिखेगा myco actually means fungus. Mycorrhiza is nothing. When you have roots of the plants, in these roots there are small nodules. Okay, these fungus attached to the roots, they help in better absorption. That is nothing but mycorrhiza. दोनों को फायदा हो रहा है. हम यहां पे देखेंगे in mutualism, both the species are getting benefit. That is the main thing to understand. Okay, so lichens है, coral reefs and mycorrhiza. First I'll give you and let's see some of the photos and examples and then you'll understand this better. Now mutualism में, ठीक है, one of the best example additionally that you also know is this. What is this process going on? Pollination. Pollination में you have a flower and you have a particular insect, let's say a bee. Flower has nectar. Let's say the bee will have the nectar. Okay, and the pollens of the flower they will take and they will then deposit it and, let's say, propagate it somewhere else. Are both the species getting benefited here? Yes or no? This is one example. This is very simple example of pollination. Yes. एक example ये है. Second example, this was mycorrhiza, and then after that I'll come back to some other examples. देखो, ये है mycorrhiza. पहले इसमें देखो, you have roots of plants. White points are these fungus. So basically क्या है? Relation where the fungus या mycorrhizal fungus and the plant root system is interacting. Now, I told you both of them are getting some benefits. So how are they getting benefit? Root जो हमारे ये है, let's say plant, okay? Plant provides carbohydrates. कैसे? Plant does photosynthesis. You create glucose, the carbohydrates. आपने mycorrhiza को दिया. Mycorrhiza is present in the root nodules. It will help in better absorption of nutrients. Okay? So nutrient plus water is also here. Mycorrhiza, because of mycorrhiza, good amounts of water and nutrients are absorbed. So now don't you think both are getting benefit? Yes or no? Right? Plant is also getting benefited. Mycorrhiza is also getting benefit. This is win-win. Yes? What was happening in lichens? Lichens had algae and fungus. Algae, whenever there will be algae is green. Okay, it can have some green elements. Although you can also say, sir, not every algae can be green. You also have other, let's say, some exceptions also. But basically speaking, when I say algae in the presence of sunlight will also do photosynthesis. Food banega. What will fungus do? Shelter also. And also remember, I gave you two examples of decomposers. Socho, two examples of decomposers. One was bacteria, second was fungus. And we wrote not virus. याद आ रहा है नोट्स पे लिखा हमने कल? So when fungus is there, sometimes that fungus on the wood, it will decompose the wood. From that also sometimes nutrition and shelter it can give to algae. Let's say when there is not sunlight available. Can we say that? Yes. Other examples include, for example, this is a direct UPSC question and this slide I always add when I teach. अगर आप देखोगे ये slide कहीं की नहीं, NCERT की slide है ये. Okay. And this is also from those 4 chapters of your NCERT. Okay. This between fig tree and a wasp. Again, there is a symbiotic association. Okay. And this is a very specific case. Fig tree is pollinated by wasp and wasp lays the eggs inside the fruit. Both of them are getting benefited. ये किसका example है? Fig tree and wasp. Here both of them are getting benefit. Okay. Similar examples. Bee and a pollinator or the orchid flower. This also we have seen. This is simple case of pollination. I can say that. Okay. एक और example है ये. Leaf cutter ants and fungus. Ants are known to be one of the oldest fungus farmers. Ab, if you see this, okay, so here is an ant, they are cutting down the leaves. There is some fungus alongside. Okay? Ab, the main thing is this leaf has to be broken down, it has to be decomposed, its nutrients, so that work the fungus is doing. Okay? Fungus is helping in the breakdown of the leaf and the nutrients जो उसके बाद बच रहे हैं वो इनको मिल जाते हैं ants को. Ants cannot do it by themselves, right? Second, ants also know the benefit of fungus. They keep these fungus colonies intact. You know the ants and they work in a lot of unity. वो इसको बचा के रखेंगे. So in adverse conditions, in very harsh weathers, right? And these ants cannot break down these leaves and their nutrients by their own. इसलिए याद रखो fungus क्या? Fungus is also a decomposer. So from that sense, it will decompose it. जो भी nutrients मिलेंगे, the ants can take it. Yesterday I asked you a question about termites. किसी ने पढ़ा वो? बताओ. नहीं वो सही है. That is true, but I asked you in the context of this wood. हाँ. नहीं वो ठीक है, but how are they able to digest it? As simple. Why are we not able to digest plants? Which enzyme do we lack? देखो, wood will have cellulose. The enzyme is cellulase. We don't have this enzyme. They have this enzyme. Simple, right? And what you're saying is, termites aren't इनके gut में जो bacteria है, that helps in digestion of this wood. They cannot do it by themselves. That is also symbiotic association. Okay? Now, ants का example समझ में आ रहा है? आप मुझे देख के बताओ, what is ant doing and what is fungus doing? बताओ. नहीं आ रहा है? I'll explain again. ठीक है, good. Right. दोनों देखो, दो चीजें हैं. Ants are taking these leaves. Okay? Ants cannot directly decompose the leaves for themselves. The fungus helps in doing that, number one. If there are extensive fungus colonies, okay, so whatever these leaves will come, they will break it down, these nutrients, the ants will come. Yes. In adverse conditions, the ants help in the protection of these fungus colonies. So of course, fungus also provides some shelter, but even ants provide certain protection also. So it's a two-way process. Both are helping each other. Ha. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, correct. Yeah, correct. There was one. But whenever we do mutualism, since that time, so if we have covered these examples well, you will always find, and this is a topic, इसके examples पे आपको question मिलेंगे. Okay? These are leaf cutter ants. Okay, अभी सब के सब एक points में हम लिखेंगे. I'm just showing you some example images so that you remember. Now, one last example is this corals. Now, coral reef, again I'm telling you, is a separate chapter when we do aquatic ecosystems, but in very brief I'll tell you. Okay? देखो दो terms हैं यहाँ पे. Coral species में, चलो या तो I'll coral reefs, right? It is, again, please remember, this is a mutualistic association. Now, in very simple terms, what did this has? It has an algae and there are reefs. Reefs are created because of calcium, basically calcium carbonate चाहिए होता है. Reef formation requires calcium carbonate, right? And this also will become, you'll understand क्यों चाहिए होता है. Now, algae, what will be the work of algae? Photosynthesis. Now, a specific zoo zooxanthellae. Zooxanthellae here is the name of algae. ठीक है, थोड़ा सा कॉम्प्लिकेटेड नेम लग रहा होगा अभी के लिए, but with time you will internalize it, right? Z or X zooxanthellae is the algae which creates the food, number one. And these reefs, बहुत simple सा काम है, they will provide shelter. Now, I want the reefs to be hard, okay, at max medium. अगर वो बहुत soft होंगे, the shelter will almost collapse. Yes, correct. So reefs should be hard, which means they should have adequate amounts of calcium. This is normal, right? This is normally happening. Now, these coral reefs also get color because of the algae. And if you've seen the documentaries, if you've seen the images, reefs look very beautiful. इसके से देखी हुई हैं coral reefs, even in images or movies, etc. देखी हैं? I'll again show this to you so that your mind, you're able to connect this better. One second. Very colorful, right? अब देखो, ये दिख रहा है? Can you see this? A lot of color is because of the different kinds of algae that are present. And here in last class, I made you write 1 by 4, 1/4, 25%. Coral reef supports 25% of marine biodiversity. राइट, हाईली प्रोडक्टिव रीजन्स ऑफ द वर्ल्ड। ओके, इस तरह से भी देखोगे आप, इतने सारे। ओके, फिर से देखो, अब स्लो स्टडी, अब ये चीजें समझोगे आप। कोरल रीफ्स आर वल्नरेबल टू क्लाइमेट चेंज एंड इन्वेसिव स्पीशीज। टुडे ओनली वी डिड इन्वेसिव स्पीशीज, थोड़ा सा कनेक्ट हो रहा होगा। यस, these are extensive areas, right? Jitni fishes हैं, all of that they will support. Why? The reason is, why are they supporting so much of marine biodiversity? You tell me the reason. Why? Simple. Algae creates food. On land also, it is the plant which ultimately lead to the propagation of life. Yeah, very simply, yes, no. Ab, this is very simple. I'm just connecting one concept, right? I don't want to complicate it because I'll complicate it later on when I do ocean acidification. ठीक है, अभी बहुत simple तरह से देख रहे हैं। Of course that उस समय भी complicate तो नहीं होगा, but one layer of difficulty I'm adding here. This is what is happening. Now, you need calcium available from calcium carbonate. Now, we also know climate change is happening. We also know there is global warming going on. With climate change and global warming, the carbon dioxide levels are increasing rapidly. ठीक? Carbon dioxide, when it mixes with water, it makes carbonic acid. You don't have to remember all these, let's say, chemical reactions. इतना simple याद रखो, ठीक? Now, if there is carbonic acid, slowly and steadily, the calcium levels will decline. इसके लिए भी अलग से reaction है. There is more bicarbonate that is getting formed. Right now, we are not going into it. Right now, what we are saying, carbonic acid बनेगा, है ना, मानते हो? अगर carbon dioxide increase हो रहा है, and carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas. This also we'll see later on. But in very brief, if I have to tell you, अगर carbon dioxide बढ़ रहा है, if the carbon dioxide is increasing, it will form more and more carbonic acid in water. This is we understand. Will the pH of water increase or decrease? Decrease. It will become more acidic. And because of that, calcium will start to reduce. This also leads to ocean acidification. Now, if ocean is becoming more acid, अगर reefs आपकी calcium कम बना रही हैं या कम calcium मिल रहा है, if they get less calcium, will the reefs become strong or will they become weak? They will become weak. And that is why this you have coral reefs, everything is fine here, but the reality is the world is facing a problem that is known as coral bleaching. Now, I showed you the image, everything was looking very colorful. You know what is a bleach? Sometimes people do a bleach, but normally also knew when bleaching is done, these colorful corals can also become white, they can also become black. And why that happens? Then this algae is dead or lost. Because the algae can only withstand some amount of pressure, let's say stress. So if I just put in, and if you just see here, if we want to see coral bleaching, all these concepts we'll do in more detail as we move along. But because this term is mentioned, ab dekho. Can you see before and after? ये देखो, before and after. So any other area, right? So all the color they will be losing. Healthy coral, bleached coral, dead coral. This also we'll understand as we move along. ये देखो आप. This is what I want to show. Right? Before and after, how they become ultimately bleached. They lose the algae. And the moment they lose the algae, the nutrition is lost. The supporting species will also face a problem. This is known as coral bleaching. So two things I've connected. One, I've told you water corals, they have a mutualistic association where both of them help each other. Algae are helped because they get shelter, yes or no? And algae make the food, they provide the food along this fold. So that is how coral reef support 1/4 of marine biodiversity. Yes or no? Can we say this? So this is something you have to understand. And all these topics individually are themselves a topic in themselves. So, चाहे this coral reef, चाहे mycorrhiza हो, these are interesting topics to understand. Right? So this is what I wanted to explain here. You have bleaching will lead to death. A coral species. This is the zooxanthellae. Okay, just make it Z. Zooxanthellae. I wrote it like X. Okay. Ab. Now we'll try to write one by one. Now we'll start with mutualism. Only the examples we are interested in. So just one line definition, right? It is a close association which positively benefits both the species. It's a close association which benefits both the species positively. मेन चीज है positively. And mutualism जब आप notes में अपने फिर से लिखोगे फिर से लिखो plus plus. The more you write it like this, the codes you will remember. Plus plus. It affects both the species positively. Yes. First. अब लिखो सीधे examples. First example is pollination. और आप जो एग्जाम्पल लिखोगे यू शुड बी एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड हाउ बोथ आर गेटिंग बेनिफिटेड राइट so for example when you write pollination you write it in this manner let's say like write flower and write bee make an arrow bee and flower so flower provides nectar yes yahan se pollen so nectar and cross pollination you can do nectar और क्रॉस पॉलिनेशन पहला एग्जांपल है पॉलिनेशन का yes or no second example is lichens again lichens are appearing LICHENS लिखो सिम्बायोटिक या चलो लिखो लाइकेंस में डैश करके एल्गी प्लस फंगस सिंपल एल्गी विल प्रोवाइड फूड fungus can again provide some colony shelter and later on fungus can also help in decomposition this can also be one right next now leaf cutter ants and fungus plus fungus okay there are many types of ants the better example is leaf cutter ants more specific okay so leaf cutter ants and fungus is one example right after you're done with the class you also try to see how is one helping the other how is one harming the other so that you also understand the concept in detail okay you have leaf cutter ants and you have fungus okay fourth example the next example likho coral reefs here again write the way I had written here right there is an algae that is zooxanthellae the algae is zooxanthellae which provides nutrition food and color zooxanthellae ZOOXANTHALLE this zooxanthellae okay next is this reef या फिर यहाँ पे लिखो coral polyp you have reefs here or you have this a polyp POLYP right coral polyp is has an exoskeleton जहाँ डैश के बस ऐसे लिखना है coral polyp has an exoskeleton made out of calcium carbonate made out of calcium carbonate right and of course you will write this is for shelter slash protection it is for shelter slash protection it is for shelter या protection right now there is one thing interesting हाँ चलो good point cellulase enzymes इसने लिखा है हाँ एक चीज लिखो you can write it इसके below and write it in bold ठीक है पूरा bold में लिखेंगे उसकी रीजन है दैट समटाइम्स यू मे नॉट नो दिस. इफ आई आस्क यू व्हाट आर कोरल रीफ्स, होते क्या है ये? आर दे प्लांट्स, आर दे एनिमल्स, व्हाट आर दे? एनी आइडिया? ओके, सो हियर प्लीज राइट. जैसे जो कोरल्स की हम बात कर रहे हैं, राइट? कोरल्स आर बेसिकली योर एनिमल्स. लिखो कोरल्स are animals. If you want to be more specific, you can write marine invertebrates. When I do species, I'll start with what is vertebrate, what is invertebrate. Very brief and basic, but abhi ke liye likho, because this has been asked once in PYQ. Corals are marine invertebrates, okay, under Cnidaria. Don't write other things, otherwise you'll get confused. Under Cnidaria, Cnidaria, under Cnidaria. And bracket mein likho PYQ. That's it. What is Cnidaria? Other examples. Cnidaria is your homework. But when I do the species classification of species, when I start species, then I'll do Cnidaria hai aur bhi classifications hai. Other examples of Cnidaria. ठीक है? चलो, okay. Now, it's an animal, right? But sometimes we get confused. What is it exactly? Okay. How many examples have you written so far? 5 हो गया, ठीक है. Next, you can write. Next is mycorrhiza. Mycorrhiza, Myrrhiza. Write this entire definition. Mycorrhiza is the symbiotic relationship between fungus and the roots of plants. Mycorrhiza is this association between fungus and the roots of plants. And you can draw this very simply. ये मत draw करो, बस simple ये बनाओ. एक plant providing water and nutrients and providing carbohydrates. Plants providing carbohydrates to mycorrhiza and mycorrhiza providing water and nutrients. ठीक है? क्या nutrients लिखा है उसमें? One of the most important thing is this, phosphorus. So when you write it, also underline or at least specifically mention absorption of nutrients, yes, but specifically of phosphorus becomes a lot better. Okay? इसी पे जहां पे आपने mycorrhiza लिखा है, just write a term. In the recent UPSC interviews also this term has been asked, but of course normally भी पूछ सकते हैं किसी से भी, या prelims में this can be a question. We know www, World Wide Web. This is Wood Wide Web. इसकी one line definition I'll give you. This is also connected to microbes and things which are found underneath the trees. Actually, this is again related to mycorrhiza only. Okay, तो यहाँ पे just one line लिखेंगे. देखो, beneath every forest and wood, there's a complex underground web of beneath every forest and wood. इनके नीचे, right? That means there's a complex underground web of roots, comma fungus. जहाँ फंगस लिख रहे हो ब्रैकेट में लिखो mycorrhiza, and bacteria which help connect other trees and plants, which help connect other trees and plants. Are you able to understand what this is? See, there is World Wide Web, internet. Everything is connected. Here, everything is connected through the huge. So, scientists also have done a huge research that how everything gets connected through roots, through the forest, through the trees, via mycorrhiza, the fungus, or the bacteria or the roots. This makes the connection across forests. That is why this term becomes very popular. And UPSC sometimes has the habit of asking you one-liners. In fact, they'd ask you oysters are filter feeders. It was a single one-liner question. Right? They'd ask you leafcutter ants and fungus share which relationship? It was mutualism. In this sense, if they just ask you the wood web best describes and they give you 4 options, उस तरह सवाल बनेगा ये. Or they give you a paragraph. The whole word, your forests are connected by roots, mycorrhizal fungus. This is best explained by their term. अब बड़े अजीबो गरीब नाम देंगे, उसमें से छुपा होगा ये. Wood wide web. Okay, fine. So that is one thing you can note here. Now, the last 2 examples, right? 6th example is fig tree and wasp. This one directly from the NCERT is fig tree and wasp. Okay, and you write both A and B because जो भी infographics भी अपनी NCERT में important वो भी I've added. So the fig flower is pollinated by the wasp. Wasp is the insect. Okay, and the wasp lay eggs in a fig fruit. Hmm. They die. They do. And this is actually slightly complicated. So when I complete all these 6, इसमें there is a specific lock and key mechanism also. Okay. In this case, अगर हम mutualism की बात करेंगे, चलो, I'll give you an example. For example, when pollination has to happen, okay, pollination can happen by